Hi guys, this is Lashette from Scarlet Moon Creations, and I'm back with my mid-February wrap-up. These are all the books that I read in the first half of the month of February. The month of love, let's see. And for the United States, Black History Month. I am low-key and high-key participating in several readathons. I don't know. Why do you guys host so many in February? I cannot tell you my book prompts until my February wrap-up because I'm really bad at keeping things going. But I can tell you the readathons I am participating in. Blackathon, For Their Culture readathon, Shiftathon, Farofeb, Demonathon, which hasn't started yet. Neither has Shiftathon. Those happen in the later half of the month. Let's jump in because I already have a lot to tell you, and one of these books needs to go back to the library today. So, the first book I finished in the month of February was The Score by Elle Kennedy. This is book 3 in the Off-Campus series. As you know, I've been reading these and I love this. This is a new adult romance series, a college sports contemporary, and the specific sport is hockey. And all of these guys go to Briar University, which is like in the Boston-ish area. Anyway, this is Dean's book. Dean is considered the man whore of the friend group. He's the first player we've come across in this series, off campus, who is not looking to become a professional hockey player. What Dean wants, Dean gets. He's a good looking guy, he's got money, he's funny, he's laid back, he's friendly, and he's very open about sex. Safe sex. And that goes for both men and women, or males and females. And he does not like people sex shaming others. But on the other hand, we have Elle, who is the best friend of one of our previous female main characters, and she is just broken up with her boyfriend, who she's been with for the past 3 years, for like the third time, and she's trying to make it stick this time. She's also undecided about what she's going to do after college. She wants to act. She had a plan, but something she's tried with acting still in school has turned her interest. So she's not sure what to do. She stays over at the house that Dean lives in while his roommates are out, and they wind up having a drunken one-night stand. And this turns Dean's head because he is, for the first time in his life, or for the first time in college anyway, become only interested in Elle and having sex with Elle, and no other girl does it for him anymore. So he starts to pursue her, and Allie's just like, no, that was a one-time thing. So it continues from there. As always, these guys are, there's more depth to these books than the synopsis and the covers imply. So I gave this a 4 stars, just very solidly, and I'm still using G at Book Rose Call Pile. I'll link in the description. And yes, very solidly a 4-star, which I'm not surprised by. I had a couple of issues with the ending of this. It felt like, though it was kind of mentioned here and there, not really. Like, I feel like the conflict at the end, while realistic, and not even the conflict, like the hardship that Dean in particular had to go through at the end, made sense. And I like Allie's choices. However, I feel like it was like a third act breakup and it was unnecessary. This has not really happened in these books before. I don't feel like Elle Kennedy really built up to that plot point. We had one scene a little bit earlier in the book with Allie's dad that kind of hinted at that possibility, but it wasn't really necessary. I don't know. Like, it felt like she was reaching to find something for Dean to be bad at, and I didn't appreciate that. But I don't know, whatever. I didn't like that, so that's why it's not like a perfect book. Alright, the next book I finished was FarSector by N.K. Jemisin, and this is illustrated by the amazing Jamal Campbell. Gerard Way does the intro for this, and I love this. I picked this up because I'm doing the read-along with Bookish Realm and Locked Bootician, Ashley and Bree, part of their the Realm of Comics kind of book club read-along thing. And this was the February pick, and oh my god, like my library literally had it physically there and available, so I just was like, let's go. So this FarSector is a bind-up of the 12 issues of FarSector, which came out over the last couple of years. This is a sci-fi comic book superhero thing, and we're following Jo, who is the newest Green Lantern, and she is assigned to the city Enduring, which is way far away from Earth and other inhabitable places in the Green Lantern sphere. And yeah, so she's assigned to the city Enduring to help protect them. They requested a Green Lantern, even though their city of 20 billion people have been peaceful for 500 plus years. That all changes when one day someone's murdered. This is a big deal. Jo is dealing with some issues from her life and kind of wanted to get away. She's given a Green Lantern ring that is unlike the others, and there are many secrets that the people, the beings, the three races of the city Enduring are hiding, particularly its leadership. And we slowly find out over the course of this. I love this so much. N.K. Jemisin's writing paired with Jamal Campbell's amazing art style just had me hooked. I will say that it took me a couple of issues to really understand the city and the three races. Look at these guys, like the different races and all the different uniform types Jo could have had in the ring and all of that. So awesome. Jo is absolutely gorgeous. There's also a queer LGBT plus rep in this. And I gotta say, the two aliens that are interested in Jo at whatever times are both absolutely gorgeous living creatures. And I was just like, go Jo, go Jo. They were really cool personalities too. Very interesting people, so it wasn't just for looks for me anyway. And this story kind of sort of went places I wasn't expecting, but not too far off. I gotta give a lot of respect to Jo for like hanging in there and hanging in onto her beliefs and her values throughout everything. It's a lot. I don't know if this character and place will be revisited, probably eventually someday. This is with DC Comics, so probably eventually someday, but maybe with different writers and artists. I don't know. I just, wow. Under DC Comics is part of the Young Animal subsidiary, Young Animals, which Gerard Way started. So, those are the two physical books I read. And the next book I finished because I needed to switch gears. I did read some nonfiction, but I'm going to wait and mention that till the end of the month. But the next fiction book I read is Charlie Travesty number 2, A Light in the Dusk by Jessi, Elliott, and KJ Sutton. This is a serial about a character, Charlie Travesty, and since I still have this Kindle Unlimited, I'm going to try and read all of the parts of it that are out for now. And I liked part 1, and so I read part 2, and I didn't like it as much because, I feel like Charlie and even some of the people she was hanging with were very juvenile in this part. What happens in this serial from book 1, which was A Whisper in the Dark, we're following Charlotte Travesty, who is living in this kind of like post-apocalyptic world where vampires rule, and when they come of age, their eyesights turn to a certain color, which points at their affinities. And unless you, like Charlie, unfortunately, your eyes turn lavender, and that means Charlie was tossed out of her home because lavenders are not accepted in their world, even though she's the daughter of the king of the vampires, basically. He tosses her out. It seems like mom wasn't really faithful because otherwise she wouldn't have lavender eyes. But Charlie has been this kind of pampered princess, not used to having to take care of herself, and now she has to. Unfortunately, she is still assigned by her dad to work in the sewers where most people, human or vampire, usually wind up dying. While she's down there, we start finding out that weepers, these things that eat people worse than vampires, have started showing up again. Now Charlie is kind of sort of connected to this mystery slash investigation by a vampire private investigator. And yeah, there are rules to this world for a lavender, and Charlie is breaking them left, right, and center in part 2, and it's so frustrating. There's a game of chicken that she and the others play, and this is her first time, but I'm just like, their lives are really hard already. Why would they do this? It's stupid, and she just makes so many stupid choices, and more people die, and then she learns something that's really sad, and she has a lot of hard lessons, and then we get another, cliffhanger ending. Not really, because this is supposed to all add up together to an actual novel, so it is what it is. But I kind of read this, and despite that, I somehow still gave it a 3.5 stars. The next book I finished was a short story by T.J. Klune, the next short story in the Green Creek series, number 3.6. This is Lovesong Part 2. So, we're back in Elizabeth's point of view like we were in Lovesong Part 1. To bring it back to the first book, which is Wolfsong, we're following Ox, who is a kid growing up in the northwestern part of the United States in a small town. His dad tells him he's going to have a hard life and he's really slow, so he needs to take care of himself and be the man of the house, and then he leaves. Ox goes to the local mechanic shop and asks for a job there, and they take pity on him. The owner takes pity on him, Gordo, and allows him to do that. Shortly thereafter, this family who owns this big house down the road that has been empty for as long as Ox can remember returns, and they have their 3 sons, the youngest of whom doesn't talk until he sees Ox, and he sort of kind of imprints on him, and they become best friends. So the first half of this book is like this coming of age for Ox and Joe, the kid, to an extent where, well, in Ox's point of view, and like growing up, coming into themselves, learning about life and love and relationships. And then halfway through, things start hitting the fan. The paranormal element really gets going, and violence enters their lives at a extremely high rate. It kind of smacks you across the face. There's emotions all through this. If you read this book and don't love Ox, I don't know who you are. So time has passed. We've had 2 other full novels and 3 now. This is the 3rd novella, and in this novella we're looking at Elizabeth, Joe's mom's, point of view on what happened in the previous novel. And you know, it's kind of an in-between, a interlude, if you will, and I enjoyed it very much. Not a lot to say about it. This Elizabeth is carrying a lot of guilt, and we see that. There was a nice moment between her and Ox here that I enjoyed. But yeah, it's a paranormal romance series or a fantasy romance series, so I read it for Farofeb. And that's all I have to say about that. One I just finished. That is A Dead Djinn in Cairo. I listened to this on audiobook. This is by Djeli Clarke. It's a kind of historical fantasy. We're in 1912 Cairo. It's an alternate Cairo, and because there are angels and Djinn within this world, and their entry into the world has changed things. There's a steampunky aspect as well, and this is a novella, so it's not very long, but one of the best novellas I've ever read. I recently came across a tweet where somebody was like, oh my god, people who complain or give novellas or short stories lower ratings because they're short make no sense to me. And the thing is, I get you. I could just not read it. But there's certain things that, you know, fill the gap. The previous book, Lovesong Part 2 that I mentioned, like, if that was, I wouldn't read that just on its own. Like, I like that because it adds to the story that I've gotten 2 full novels of already. So it's different. I don't generally read short stories or novellas where I don't know what I'm getting into yet. Unless, like in this case, I know it's building up to something more, or we're gonna get more of them over time with the same characters. So I just like don't connect with the characters or the plot and whatnot usually with them. So I do avoid them except for those 2 cases. Now this, I feel like, had a complete story in and of itself, and I feel like fulfilled, if that makes sense, right? Usually my problem with individual short stories or novellas is they feel incomplete to me. They're not filling enough, and I'm always left wanting, and that's why the lower rating, because I'm always like, oh, I wish that was longer so I could have had more. That I don't have this feeling with A Dead Djinn in Cairo, which I was not expecting. So this is part 0.1 of the Dead Djinn universe by Djeli Clarke. We're following Fatma El Sha'arawi, and she is like a special investigator for the Ministry of Alchemy, Enchantments, and Supernatural Entities. And she is brought in by, I guess, the regular police because they find a dead Djinn. And Fatma, special investigator Fatma, is led around the city trying to figure out what's going on. She keeps finding different clues while dealing with sexism and other things. I can't remember the terms right now, but some other nonsense and maybe even a little bit of sexual harassment. I don't know, and also some flirting. The way that Djeli Clarke really built this world in such a short amount of pages, I don't know, is amazing to me. And I have to say that I listened to the audiobook, which helped immensely, particularly with the name pronunciations, and the narrator was Suhaila Elatar, so thank you to her as well for doing an amazing job. And I'm definitely going to be continuing the Dead Djinn universe because I do like Special Investigator Fatma, and I like the descriptions of the world, the angels, the Djinn, and I want to know more. I want to see more. This is something I would really like to touch, and I want all my senses in this universe, so I'm going to continue. Only other thing I can say about this is that this is my first 5-star read of the month. Love that for me, because there was nothing wrong with this. There was nothing bad. It was just awesome. All around awesome. Here I am, new clothes, Lashette. The next book I finished in the first half of February is Brothersong by T.J. Klune. This is book 4 in the Green Creek series, and therefore the final book. And it didn't quite leave me as fulfilled as the others, but it was a good ending. I just think, quite honestly, my expectations for endings are like finales of a series are way high since Hero of Ages. But anyway, different genre here. This is a paranormal series, urban fantasy series. I might change my channel to just spoilers always, because I want to talk about the books, and half the time when I'm doing these reviews I'm leaving stuff out or I'm editing stuff out because that's spoilers. But anyway, so the Green Creek series, back to book 1, which was Wolfsong. We're following Ox, who is a young man growing up in northwestern United States in a small rednecky town, and his father, on his way out the door and out of their lives, tells him that he's slow and that he's going to get shit for it all his life, and then proceeds to abandon Ox and his mother. And soon after that, knowing that mom needs help paying the bills so they don't lose their house, Ox goes to the local mechanic shop and asks for them to give him a job, even though he's way too young. And the owner, Gordo, says yes. Ox and his mother happen to live down the street from this very big house that has been uninhabited for Ox's entire life by that point. He's like 12 or 14 or something like that in the beginning. And the family that owns that house suddenly shows up one day and moves back in. Their youngest son decides that Ox is his. He kind of like imprints on him, and the story goes from there. The first half is kind of this coming of age thing as they grow up, specifically Ox, because it's his point of view. You know, lots of growing up things, you know, falling in love and dealing with school stuff and, you know, learning about you and what your values are and this, that, and the other. And then the second half of the book comes and kind of smacks you in the face. As I'm saying for the last time here, the violence, the gore, the real heartache really starts happening from here. Ox starts learning more about the Bennets, and things start happening to them that they weren't expecting, and it keeps coming through the rest of the series until this last book. In this last book, we're following Carter, the oldest Bennett brother, and as he goes to get his mate. Carter has been an interesting character, and I was looking forward to his book. He's, to me, the most entertaining of the Bennett brothers. So, and then the situation with his mate was very interesting. And of course, all the build up with the big bag finally comes to a head here. I did not hate this book. I just feel like, I just didn't feel as strongly about this one, and it's only a little bit. I still liked it. I love these characters, and I'm probably at some point gonna go back and reread Wolfsong, because I read that last year, and then obviously in the last couple of months I've read the other books, including the novellas in between. The mystical, magical moon stuff. I like the way it felt convenient here towards the end there, and it's okay. Maybe I just wanted to bawl my eyes out, and I didn't, like I did with every other book in this. The writing was great, the plot was great. There wasn't as much intrigue. I don't feel like the explanation for Livingstone was really given, so I kind of rated it a little low on that, but I don't know, it's not bad. I gave it 4.5 stars, so I still clearly enjoyed it. I'm also sad that Team Human, I did really like the outcome of the future of the packs and things for the whole country. That makes sense. I really love the scenes with the three Bennett brothers, because we didn't really get a lot of that in the previous books because of other points of views. So a good end to a great series, and I recommend you all read it, and I'm very happy that I continued it. I read this because I wanted to, but also it fits for Farofeb, Fantasy Romance, February. The next book I finished was the audiobook We're Waiting to Exhale by Terry McMillan. Now, this was not a plan for me to read or listen to, but I had told myself I was participating in the Missy Elliott read-along, or readathon, and this is one of the group books, and I was like, damn, because it completely slipped my mind that they were group books. So, if you read the two group books, you would hit all the prompts. I'm probably not going to read the second group book, but they're also going to do a watch along. Waiting to Exhale, the movie is based on this book, which I did not know. I've never seen the movie. I was considered too young when it came out, and then I just never got around to it. I gotta say, the audiobook, the only audiobook created and available for this is an abridged version. It was only 3 hours, so obviously I got through it very quickly. And I enjoyed it. I know the basic story for Waiting to Exhale that came out in like the 90s, so, and it's a very popular movie amongst the Black community. The soundtrack for this is one of my favorite movie soundtracks of all time, and Not Gonna Cry by Mary J. Blige is one of my favorite Mary J. Blige songs of all time. But I bring it up because the lyrics are very literally taken from the page. The song is basically the storyline of one of the four women in this book. I was your lover and your secretary, working every day of the week. Was at the job when no one else was there, helping you get on your feet. 11 years I sacrificed, and you would leave me at the drop of a dime. Swallow my tears, stood by your side. I should have left your ass 1,000 times. So I'm not Mary, but thank you for listening if I didn't edit that out. So Waiting to Exhale, we're following four women in their 30s, and four Black women in their 30s. As you know, they're living their lives. Things are changing for each of them, and whether it's internally or externally. Like, once I realized their ages, I was like, wow, maybe it was meant for me to read this now. Yes, I probably could have watched or read this when I was younger, but like, I think I just relate so much to these women. Not completely. Well, the thing is, these are not four random women. They're all in Phoenix, Arizona, and they're all very good friends. So there's also that friendship aspect, that kind of found family aspect. And there's, you know, like Black love, Black women dealing with the issues of the day. There is a trigger warning for miscarriage. Just FYI. I wound up giving this a 4 stars. And maybe one day I'll pick up the physical book to read. So check it out if you haven't. And the last book I'm going to talk about in this video is Bitterroot Volume 1, Family Business. This is a comic book. Now, this Bitterroots Volumes 1 through 3 were the read-along picks for the realm of comics for December, but somehow my brain didn't click that it was for December. I thought it was for January, and then, you know, January's was something else. So, yeah, I decided I'm going to read these anyway because now they're on my radar, and why not for Blackathon? This comic is by David F. Walker and Chris Brown. Sanford Green and Rico Renzi are illustrators. And we're following a family, a Black family, who are known to be monster hunters. And I think this is like in the 1920s, so it's a little bit of a historical fantasy comic. Basically, this world that they're in is not unlike our own. It's full of racism and hatred and torture and things like that. The fantasy element is that these things turn people into monsters. And their family has been known for generations in fighting these monsters. I enjoyed this. Volume 1 is a collection of comics 1 through 5 of Bitterroot. And I was a little confused for a bit. And I think maybe that was on purpose. When I get to the end, I was like, okay. But I feel like there was something off about the timing, because part of this follows some cousins in Harlem, New York City, but there's another cousin who is somewhere in the South, and for some reason, I feel like it was saying like that guy was in another time, an earlier time, but I could be wrong. And so, like, confused, yes, very much. But I liked how they kind of turned it around also at the end, where, you know, lots of pain and hurt and persecution can also turn people into monsters. So I really appreciated that. I want to read volume 2 probably in the second half of this month as part of Demonathon and Blackathon, of course. Volume 3 I won't get to for a while because my library doesn't have it. I gave this a 4.5 stars. So those are all the books that I read in the first half of the month of February. Let me know in the comments down below what, if any, readathons you are participating with in February, and how are you doing with your prompts. Leave me a little hockey stick emoji in the comments down below if you would like to support but don't know what to say. And like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you are new. Linked in my description always is a 10% off discount code to my Etsy shop, and links to all my social media as well as Goodreads and Storygraph and Amazon. So if you'd like to follow me in any of those other places or friend me, that's where you'll find them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.